Have you ever felt that sinking feeling, like the guy you're dating is pulling away, he texts less, he's not as enthusiastic, and suddenly you're left wondering, what did I do wrong? The truth is, many women react in ways that actually make things worse and end up chasing the wrong man. Today, I'm going to break down the 4 biggest mistakes that keep you stuck in that painful cycle and how you can flip the script. Think he's losing interest. 1 minute he's texting you nonstop, the next he's distant and cold. It's frustrating, right? And here's the trap. Most women end up making the same mistakes when a man pulls away, mistakes that don't bring him closer, but actually push him further and leave you chasing the wrong guy. In today's video, I'm going to share the 4 biggest mistakes women make when they sense a man pulling back, and how to stop wasting your time on the wrong man so you can attract the right one. If you're ready to break free from the cycle and finally get the love you deserve, hit that like button, subscribe to Love Logic Official, and tap the bell icon so you never miss my weekly videos. When a man begins to pull back, the first instinct many women have is to overanalyze every single move he makes. You replay the last text in your head, dissect the words he used, and wonder why his response time was slower than before. This constant overthinking doesn't actually give you answers. It only feeds your anxiety and makes you feel like you're losing control. The more you overanalyze, the more you hand over your emotional power to his inconsistent behavior. Overanalyzing is like chasing shadows. You're trying to extract meaning from things that often have none. He might just be busy, tired, or distracted. But when you obsess over every detail, you start creating stories in your head that don't match reality. Instead of living your life with confidence, you put yourself in a state of waiting, as though his attention is the prize you need to earn. That mindset not only drains your energy, but also makes him the center of your emotional world. The truth is, high-value women don't live in detective mode. They don't read between the lines of a 2-word text or obsess about whether he used an emoji or not. They focus on what truly matters. Consistency. If a man is genuinely interested, you won't need to overanalyze because his actions will naturally align with his words. When he's invested, it shows in effort, not in excuses. Looking for consistency keeps you grounded, while overanalyzing keeps you stuck in insecurity. Here's the problem with decoding mixed signals: it traps you in a cycle of false hope. One day he gives you attention and you feel reassured, the next he disappears and you spiral into doubt again. You start mistaking crumbs of affection for genuine effort, all because you're too busy analyzing instead of stepping back and seeing the bigger picture. A man who's truly ready for you won't leave you guessing. You'll know through his steady and reliable actions. Overanalyzing is dangerous because it amplifies insecurity rather than solving it. You start questioning yourself, twisting your own behavior, or blaming yourself for his distance. You convince yourself that if you just send the right text, react the right way, or play the right game, you'll fix it. But love isn't a puzzle to solve or a strategy to win. The right relationship flows because 2 people are genuinely interested in showing up for each other. No amount of decoding can make an unavailable man suddenly consistent. So instead of spending hours replaying messages or questioning what you did wrong, shift your focus. Ask yourself, is this man showing up in ways that make me feel valued, secure, and appreciated? If the answer is no, the solution isn't to analyze harder. It's to walk away sooner. Protect your energy for someone who doesn't make you guess, because love is not a puzzle to be solved. It's clarity, it's consistency, and it's the peace of knowing you're with the right person. At the end of the day, overanalyzing doesn't bring clarity, it just brings anxiety. The cure isn't to figure him out, it's to figure yourself out. A high-value woman knows she doesn't need to play detective, because the right man won't leave her guessing. He'll show her his interest with actions that feel steady, respectful, and intentional. Stop analyzing every move and start asking the bigger question, is this the kind of consistency I want in my life? That's how you reclaim your power. When a man starts pulling away, it's natural to feel insecure and want to fix things. You might send more texts, initiate every plan, or try harder to remind him of why he liked you in the first place. But here's the hard truth: the more you chase, the more he subconsciously devalues what you're offering. Love isn't about proving your worth to someone. It's about recognizing when a man already sees it without needing to be convinced. Chasing validation puts you in a dangerous cycle where your happiness depends on his reaction. If he responds, you feel good. If he ignores you, you feel crushed. Suddenly, his attention becomes the measure of your self-esteem. This doesn't just disempower you, it makes you emotionally dependent on someone who isn't even giving consistent effort. A high-value woman doesn't let someone else's inconsistency determine her confidence or her joy. The reality is, a man who's truly interested doesn't need you to chase him. He meets you in the middle. He invests his time, energy, and effort because he wants to, not because you've begged for it. When you find yourself constantly initiating or overcompensating, it's a signal that the balance is off. Real love thrives when both people are contributing, not when one is pulling all the weight while the other enjoys the benefits without effort. The truth is, love built on validation, chasing will always feel unstable. You'll never feel secure because your confidence depends on whether he leans in or pulls back. But when you step back from that game, you invite stability into your life. You make room for men who aren't confused, who don't play hot and cold, and who don't need convincing. Real love feels mutual. It's a steady exchange of energy, not a lopsided chase. You don't win love by proving, you win by choosing wisely. When you stop chasing validation, everything changes. You reclaim your power, because you're no longer making someone else's attention the center of your self-worth. Instead, you start filtering differently. You stop asking, how do I keep his attention? And start asking, is this the kind of attention I even want? That shift turns you into the chooser, not the chosen. And that's when you begin to attract men who respect, value, and cherish the energy you bring to the table. Think of it this way: what's rare gets valued. When you're always available, always texting first, always proving your worth, you make yourself too accessible to someone who hasn't earned that privilege. Pulling back doesn't mean playing games. It means respecting yourself enough to let someone show you their level of interest. If they don't step up, that silence is your answer. And that answer frees you to find someone who will. True connection comes when you stop chasing and start choosing. Instead of pouring your energy into someone who's drifting, redirect it toward your own growth, your passions, and people who genuinely appreciate you. The right man won't require endless convincing. He'll recognize your value from the start and act accordingly. Love isn't about begging for validation. It's about mutual recognition, where both people see each other as worthy and show it every day. The pull of chemistry can feel intoxicating. Those butterflies in your stomach, the rush of excitement when his name pops up on your phone, the spark that makes you believe you've found something rare, it's powerful. But here's the truth. Chemistry is not a green light to ignore reality. Just because the connection feels electric doesn't mean he's the right man for you. Butterflies are not proof of compatibility, they're proof of attraction. And attraction without substance can pull you into one of the most dangerous traps in dating, the trap of excusing behavior that doesn't deserve excuses. When you ignore red flags because of chemistry, you're telling yourself a story. This feels so good, it must mean something deeper. But feelings don't always equal facts. A man can be thrilling, magnetic, and make your heart race, while at the same time being inconsistent, unavailable, or emotionally immature. When you let the high of chemistry blind you, you overlook the very behaviors that will determine whether a relationship is sustainable. Love isn't just about how high you fly in the beginning. It's about whether you have a safe place to land when reality sets in. Think about it this way: red flags are not inconveniences. They are warnings. If he only communicates when it's convenient for him, if he avoids emotional intimacy, or if he disappears when things get difficult, those are not quirks to tolerate because the chemistry is so strong. Those are signals that he isn't ready or willing to build something real. And every time you ignore them, you're essentially saying, the excitement I feel is more important than the security I need. That's not romance. That's self-sabotage disguised as passion. Chemistry can create an illusion of depth, but character reveals the truth. A man who is kind, consistent, and reliable may not always sweep you off your feet with drama and fireworks, but he is the one who shows you what real partnership feels like. Passion might spark the connection, but it's character that sustains it. You can't build a fire that lasts on sparks alone. You need wood, patience, and steady effort. If you ignore the lack of those things, you'll mistake smoke for a flame, and eventually the fire will burn out. Many women fall into the trap of thinking, if I just give him more time, more love, more understanding, he'll step up. But ignoring red flags doesn't make them disappear, it makes them grow louder. You can't transform emotional unavailability into commitment just by wishing it. You can't turn inconsistent effort into devotion by tolerating it. The wrong man won't become the right man just because you've chosen to overlook the obvious. Chemistry can cloud judgment, but truth always reveals itself in the end. The most dangerous part of ignoring red flags is what it does to your self-worth. When you constantly excuse poor treatment because of the way someone makes you feel in fleeting moments, you condition yourself to settle. You start believing that intense attraction is worth more than respect, that temporary highs can replace consistency, and that longing is the same as love. But here's the empowering truth. The right relationship will give you both chemistry and character. You don't have to sacrifice one for the other. When you hold yourself to a higher standard, you stop being seduced by just butterflies and start looking for behaviors that build trust. You ask better questions. Does he follow through on his word? Does he make me feel safe emotionally? Does he show up consistently, even when life isn't convenient? These are the markers of real compatibility. When you honor red flags instead of ignoring them, you reclaim your power. You shift from being a passenger in your love life to being the driver who chooses wisely. Attraction is not enough to sustain love. Chemistry without compatibility is like building a house on sand. It feels solid at first, but eventually it crumbles. Don't let the spark blind you to the truth. Love that lasts requires effort, respect, and emotional availability. The right man won't make you ignore red flags. He'll give you green lights. And when you stop settling for sparks without substance, you create space for a relationship that doesn't just excite you, it fulfills you too. So, the next time chemistry tempts you to look past a red flag, pause, ask yourself, if I didn't feel this attraction, would his behavior still be acceptable? If the answer is no, then chemistry is clouding your judgment. Don't let short-term feelings sabotage your long-term happiness. Remember, chemistry lights the spark, but character builds the fire. Choose the man who gives you both, because that's the only kind of love that truly lasts. There's a dangerous story many women tell themselves. If I just love him enough, he'll change. It sounds noble, selfless even, but it's a trap that drains your energy and delays your happiness. The truth is, love is not a magic wand. You cannot love someone into emotional maturity, responsibility, or readiness. A man has to choose that for himself. When you take on the role of fixer, you step into a relationship where your effort outweighs his commitment, and that imbalance will always leave you feeling empty. The problem with trying to fix a man is that it assumes potential is the same as reality. You see glimpses of who he could be if only he tried harder, healed more, or grew up faster. But potential is a fantasy. It's not who he is showing up as today. And dating someone for their potential is like buying a house based on the brochure while ignoring the cracks in the foundation. You're investing in an idea, not the truth in front of you. Love requires honesty, not wishful thinking. When you believe you can fix him, you start working harder than he does. You forgive too quickly, excuse too often, and give too much, all in the hope that your loyalty will spark transformation. But here's the harsh reality: effort that isn't matched will never create balance. The wrong man will take and take, because why would he change if you're doing all the emotional labor for him? Instead of rising to meet you, he lets you carry the weight, and over time, that weight crushes your spirit. The right man doesn't need fixing because he's already doing the work on himself. He may not be perfect, no one is, but he takes responsibility for his growth, his actions, and his readiness to love. You won't have to drag him into maturity or beg him to step up. He'll do it because he values himself and you. That's what partnership looks like. Two whole people choosing to grow together, not one person dragging the other into readiness they never asked for. One of the most dangerous consequences of this mistake is self-neglect. When you pour all your love and energy into fixing him, you stop focusing on your own needs, dreams, and boundaries. You measure your worth by his progress, and when he doesn't change, you feel like you failed. but his readiness is not your responsibility. His choices are his own. Your responsibility is to protect your heart, honor your standards, and choose someone who actually meets you where you are. Let's be clear, compassion is beautiful. Wanting to support someone is admirable. But there's a difference between supporting a man who's actively working on himself and trying to save one who refuses to. One is love, the other is rescue, and rescue always comes at a cost. It leaves you drained, unappreciated, and ultimately resentful. Real love doesn't require you to sacrifice yourself to keep someone afloat. Real love is two people swimming together in the same direction. When you stop trying to fix, you reclaim your power. You begin to see men clearly, not for who you wish they were, but for who they actually are. You stop making excuses and start asking better questions. Does his behavior align with his words? Is he emotionally available? Does he show up consistently? Those answers tell you everything you need to know. Love isn't about dragging someone to readiness. It's about finding someone who is already standing where you are, ready to walk forward with you. At the end of the day, the wrong man will drain you, while the right man will rise to meet you. Stop investing in what could be and start choosing what is. When you let go of the fixer role, you open yourself up to a relationship built on mutual respect, not desperation. You don't need to be someone's savior. You need to be someone's partner. And the moment you embrace that truth, you'll stop settling for projects and start creating the love story you truly deserve. So stop pouring your energy into fixing someone else and start asking yourself, so am I being loved in the way I deserve today? Love that lasts doesn't come from effort spent rescuing. It comes from two people already ready to build together. Remember this, the wrong man will cost you your peace, but the right man will bring you peace. Choose reality over potential, because the man who's truly ready won't need fixing. He'll already be standing tall, waiting to meet you. So, if you've been chasing a man who's slipping away, ask yourself, am I falling into one of these 4 traps? Remember, your worth doesn't come from his attention. It comes from how you choose to value yourself. The right man won't make you beg for his love. He'll give it freely. If this message hit home for you, hit that like button, subscribe to Love Logic Official, and tap the bell icon so you never miss my weekly insights on building the love you deserve. And let me know in the comments, which of these 4 mistakes do you think women struggle with the most?